Hey, welcome to the Black Knight Nation podcast. I'm your host, Sal Interdonato. The Black Knight Nation podcast is sponsored by Higher Echelon. Higher Echelon is a company run by former Army fullback and former Army football player Joe Ross. We thank Higher Echelon for sponsoring this podcast. Entering our second year with Higher Echelon. They've been a big supporter of the Black Knight Nation podcast. We thank them so much. Here with co-host Steve Anderson. Steve, this is a Sunday night podcast, right? It's midnight on the East Coast. But we have our special guest is coming to you from Hawaii, I believe, Adisa King. Adisa King, welcome to the Black Knight Nation podcast.
Hey, I appreciate it. Glad to be here. And aloha. That's all I got to say. Right?
We had when Colonel King first mentioned he wanted to do it Sunday night, I was like, okay, sweet. We'll do it like 10 p.m. Eastern time. He was like, that's like 4 o'clock here. It's not quite evening time. So quick little math edit there, and but yeah, we were able to work it out. Glad to have you on, sir. Always good seeing you. I know we stay pretty connected through everything, social media and everything, but it's always good to get a little one-on-one time with Colonel King.
I appreciate that, man. Glad to be here, Sal and Steve. I tell you, man, it's just I think it's phenomenal. Phenomenal what y'all doing. We're staying connected. So let's go, man. Ready for it.
Talk to us a little bit about your West Point journey and where it started. And I know you were also around the program within, the newer part of the Army football program too. So talk to us a little bit, first of all, how it started.
Well, if anything, it starts with my brother, Akili. People know him as AK. And it's kind of funny because now some people associate me with AK, but that's a whole nother story with Coach Luce. But it really started with him in high school, following my brother through his kind of behind his footsteps. And, I remember Perry Fuel, right? People don't probably remember Perry Fuel. He was the recruiter that came down, but he also became the defensive coordinator for Giants and plenty of other teams. So he's moved up, but he stayed connected with us. And he came recruited my brother, and my brother went up to the prep school. And I'll never forget, he came back from his first visit from the prep, not visit, but from his being at the prep school, taking a break. He came back home to visit. Man, he had money in his pocket. And I'm like, what? And you get to play football? You get to do, I'm like, sign me up. I was like, Coach, I play cornerback. At the time I was quarterback and I was a free safety, and I saw that and I was like, not just because security, but it was more an opportunity, really, somewhat like a lot of kids today. You get to play at the D1 level. You get to be on TV. Come on. Seriously? And you get to compete. And then after that, you got kind of, not to say a guarantee, but you're not worried about what I call the 1st and the 15th of the month. You're not worried about it getting paid. You're trying to figure out the whole Army thing. And the fact is, that's, I had to say yes, sir, and no, sir. Being from Mississippi, that was normal. When it just, sometimes you need to shut up sometimes. So I kind of knew that kind of structured military life, but it was really started with my brother. And when he got recruited, I saw the opportunity. Then again, he played as a freshman, right? And even sometimes a sophomore. So I'm like, whoa, okay, there's opportunity there that I really enjoyed seeing him, and I really wanted to be a part of it. And heck, man, our family traveled everywhere. So whenever he was playing, whether it was North Carolina against Wake Forest, against anywhere, we would travel there. And so I became inculcated with Army and beat Navy before I even knew what Navy was. Funny story, my brother wanted to be a Navy SEAL, but Navy told him, no, you can't go to the academy. So he's like, okay. And he followed that way. So after that, that's how I really got started, man, and with him, and got to rolling into the academy and got the visit going. And Coach Sutton, I will tell you this right now. Some people, they got their varied views about him, but I will tell you with Coach Sutton, a kind of a hero in my book. Why? I'm a young kid. I got other recruiting visits, right? Other offers, go to Southern Miss, Alabama State, and a couple other schools. But I was like, Coach, whatever you have to do, West Point's where I want to go. He said, you sure? I'm like, Coach, this is where I want to go. Next thing you know, about 4 days later, I got accepted to the prep school. I'm like, that's it. It's game on. It was game on. So it is just him, Coach Luce, several of the coaches there just had a really impact on me. And I saw the culture of the team, and I really wanted to be a part of it. Plus, I had this vision of being quarterback and hand it off to my brother. Yeah, that was a dream, man. No, not so much.
Now, sir, did you have a pretty good relationship with the coaching staff prior to, they officially recruiting you, having been around the team, or was it like, hey, they came to saw you play, and your recruiting came the same way as every other player, where they saw you play and that's when they started talking to you? Or was there any kind of connection through your brother that your brother was like, you got to check this guy out?
Listen, it was listen, when Coach Fuel came down, and hey, he saw my brother play, and then when Coach Luce Fuel also recruited me, and it was like, hey, he has a brother too, and they liked the film, and that kind of led one thing to another, right? And of course, the academy's huge. After when I first met you, Steve, and I learned the academy's huge about, hey, making it a family legacy, our family affair. So if I have one brother here and there's opportunity, whether it's brother or sister, why would I not want to go recruit, especially if they have some kind of ability to develop? It just really helps out the organization. So I knew the coaches. Coaches knew a little bit of me, but then everything else kind of fell into place when they looked at film and say, okay, let's see where we can put them. And it definitely wasn't on the offensive side of the ball.
Lots of good stories like that. I just, one that I remember is the Bentler brothers. Fritz not getting a lot of time at Iowa State, and transferring, and Ted, who was one of the most intense people ever. Ted time. He transferred, used up a year of eligibility just so he could play with his brother. So it's definitely like you said, sir, it's a great recruiting tool. And it's a no-brainer. You want to play with your siblings, like you said. Like you're the picture of you handing your ball off to AK was like more than any other school could offer you. So
exactly
pretty cool. When now I know you said you grew up saying yes sir, yes ma'am, in Mississippi, but there's always a little bit of a culture shock. Now you said your brother went to prep school. Yeah. Sir, you went to prep school. You were direct. No, you were you were in prep school as well, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. My brother, but my sister, she went, but she did not go to the prep school. She was smarter than both of us. That's another story. But yeah, I would say when you say culture shock, no, because my brother said, hey, you need to do two things: shut up and move fast when they tell you to move. And I tell you what, now the only culture shock that I did have is when I came around the corner and I saw these guys, Smokey the Bear hats. Y'all didn't have those, but we did. Drill sergeants. When I came around the corner of the prep school down at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, I'm like all big and bad, thinking I'm good to go, have a bag in hand. And I had this dude screaming at me. I'm like, I didn't sign up for this. What are y'all screaming? I didn't do nothing. But then it kicked in. My brother said, hey, I tell you what to do it and do it fast. And that's exactly what I did. And I saw, unfortunately, you always got to have somebody next to you, right? That screws up, that takes attention off you. And unfortunately, he started asking questions and he started taking his bags out slow. And they just went from me to him. I'm like, whoa, snap. I dumped everything in my bag real quick. So that right there was my quick lesson. Just, hey, shut your mouth, do what you got to do so you don't get any attention on you.
Now, it's always interesting to me to hear players that went to the prep school. How many guys were you able to keep at the prep to go into the academy? What kind of core group would you say came with you from prep school? What kind of season did you have at prep school, and kind of basically what led to the next, the leadership when you became a senior at the academy?
Well, I'll tell you, the prep school, it was dynamic because we had athletes. I mean, and it's raw, and everybody's just bonded together. That's what I truly loved about the prep school. You got bigger, you got faster. And our pride and joy is when we went up, when we played against the JV team up there, and we spanked that butt, man. We spanked that butt, and we were just excited about that opportunity. So a lot of guys stayed, and we stayed together because just like anything else, it's like we want to be the part of that core group going into the next class, which was always neat. And of course, you lose people here and there, either for academic reasons or whatever. But that's where you begin the nucleus of people who say, you know what, let's make this thing happen. Let's be a part of something that's great. And that was just phenomenal. Plus, the only I want to say not bad thing, but sometimes it was all the coaches didn't always come down, right? So you didn't know, you wanted to ensure that the coach knew you. But this is where you begin to learn, hey, man, just be part of the team. Don't worry about, hey, coach knows my name. A coach didn't say nothing to me. Hey, listen, perform. Let that speak for you. And that's where you begin to develop that there. A little bit of what I call that toughness, right? You don't need someone just kind of rubbing you and stroking you all the time. It's like, hey, dude, perform on the field. Let your performance speak for you.
I was fortunate enough, and I've mentioned it several times, and of course, but Coach Kalwika used to always tell us, the eye in the sky don't lie. And, if a coach doesn't talk to you or, because we were fortunate enough to spank JV's, butt when we went up there. But, you'd always hear guys like, hey, coach, you think the coaches up there saw me? And Coach K would be like, eye in the sky don't lie. If you put it on film, the coaches up there will see it. And that's the only, that's the only advice he'd give us if guys were worried about if the coaches up at West Point, saw our film or whatever.
Yeah. And they can tell who hustles too. They can tell us, like, if you pull up on a play, you pull up on a drill, you pull up on anything, even in a game. You pull up in a game, it doesn't lie to me. Are you hurt or something? And so the people that went all out, I saw that's where it was helpful. I would say, if you're talking about getting noticed for players.
Adisa, you were saying that your dreams were to be an Army quarterback, but when you get to West Point, they put you on the defensive side of the ball, didn't they, or no?
Well, no. So my dream, again, while I was in high school, I wanted to be a quarterback and option throwing, my big long lanky legs, but then this is when coach like, we're gonna put you on defense, because I think it was better fit for me on defense wise, because basically being able to cover the ground, especially as a free safety that tall. So coach like, this is where we can put you, and then and it developed from there though too. Opportunity came. Coach Luce looked at me and said, hey, you want to get on the field? I was like, what you need, coach? All right, we're going to move you outside linebacker. Like, roger that. Outside linebacker. Where you at? Let's go. And that's the mentality that I think we built, or it developed, right? Especially at the prep school. Because, man, I don't mind if you're on JV, but, hey, if I can help out, if I can go somewhere, where's kickoff, whatever, all of us, you finally get a place at the dinner table, baby. Let's go. I don't know, well, I only play this, like, you become irrelevant real quick. And I've seen it happen to a lot of guys. And that's kind of my message to, some of the guys that came in behind me, freshmen, talking about what they did in high school. I'm like, I looked at one kid, I was like, dude, I don't give a crap what you did in high school. That don't mean nothing. This is D1 ball. This is Army football. All right. If you can take a couple hits, then we can talk. If you can go where coach needs you, then we can talk. Other than that, shut your mouth and get in line and get down and go.
Do you remember that first hit that you might have took at practice, or that first time that you said, hey, for you as a freshman, that this was D1 football and this was real?
I think it was in practice. It really wasn't practice at it. It was one of the first games I had. We played against Boston College. I was able to get in on kickoff, and we were beating them. And I was all excited because I'm like, kickoff. And man, that's man football. That's big boy football. All right, coming down the line, and then you hit the first guy. I hit my first hit, and then not understanding that there's somebody on the peripheral, right, that's creating a wall, and you run right into him, and you're like, whoa, okay, all right. You like, okay, you got that one. All right, it's game on. that's kind of when I knew that was one we against Boston College, and everybody who went to the prep school will probably remember this school. Nassau College. Those are grown men who are going from college probably to the pro. Okay? Grown men that we were playing against. One dude had a full beard. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm just out of high school. So that was probably one of the first times I was really introduced to, that level of when it's time to hit, that you got to bring it, and it is fast.
Yeah, a lot of people, and I recommend this to high school athletes that need a year or whatever. That prep school is it doesn't have to be the West Point prep school. It can be any prep school. It's a great opportunity to just mature that year, especially if your body hasn't hit that level yet. And we, like you said, we played Nassau, we played Milford Academy, we played guys like LaShawn McCoy and all those guys. And it's a huge step up from high school football to prep school / JUCO football. And people don't give it a lot of credit because they always compare, high school to college, which is, of course, that makes sense. But the prep school and JUCOs do have, just like you said, I remember getting, I think it was against, I can't remember. I think it was, what was it? Maybe Hargrave.
Yeah.
And their running back was going to, I'll never forget this. Their running back was going to Kentucky, and I had just fought off a block, and I met him in the hole, and he ran over me and put his foot on my chest, and I tackled him with the bottom of my face mask. And I come back, and it was third and 10 or whatever. It was a draw play. And I just remember Coach K be like, he's squirting a water bottle in his mouth. He's like, you can't get bitch like that. He's like, punt return, not even worried about it, just says it in passing. And it was just I was like, yeah, that was one of the first times I've ever been trucked in my life. I never got trucked in high school. So that was definitely an experience. But
it is.
But yeah, so you got the core group of guys at prep school.
Sure.
What is the culture like when you get to Army football? Who are the guys you're looking to, who you're learning from? And then kind of when they pass the torch, when did you guys know now it's our team, and kind of where we need to go to continue to keep this ball rolling?
Well, I had it was very dynamic, at least for me. All the, was that Mad Dog Maddox, who else? A couple other guys there. I mean, Joel Davis, I remember him. Again, these are guys that I knew and saw before I even was on the team, right? I knew what they were, just that mentality, everything that they thought through and how they led, right? And the biggest thing that I picked up is the seniors are the ones that run things, all right? Abe Young, again, I think he's getting ready to retire. But again, all those guys, all of them, I remember them when they were at the prep school. And so now they're juniors and seniors when I'm coming in. And I saw, hey, they're the ones that run the program. All right. So as a freshman, I'm like, okay, you saw that. One things I got twisted. I won't say twisted. I got sideways with one of the seniors, and felt the brunt of me getting sideways with somebody, and knew that there's a thing called pecking order, and you're not at the top. It was one day with Mad Dog. I can't go into all the details, but just understood when I opened up my mouth and kind of stood up, I went right back to my position real quick after. I was like, okay, all right, you good, we good. All right, I got it. All right, yeah. I was a little mad. I got it. But it was more so just understanding that, you know, you have a place that you can be contributing. If you can contribute to the team, okay, then contribute. Other than that, keep your mouth closed. Don't think just because you got on first team or that you are on the varsity and you kind of playing with the first element, right? You got the first element, the second element. Just because you got there doesn't mean you have arrived, right? That was the culture we had, because anytime, any place, guess what? They will pull you really quick and put you either back down or pull you up. So you got to pull your weight. You know, that was kind of what I saw in the guys. And when I say the thing was dynamic and different for me, as I got kicked out of the academy. So when I got kicked out, it's like, okay, I where's my tribe at? I'm like, I don't have a tribe anymore. And my guys, the people that I knew, like Bobby Williams, everyone that went to the bowl game and played against Auburn, I was supposed to be there, right? So I'm seeing them go, and I'm like, I don't have a tribe anymore. And again, that's a whole nother story, trying to get. And then when I finally was able to get back in, it was just a little bit more maturity, and that's when I began to connect with the new group, the class of 2000, like Nate Hunterton, you know, and everybody there. Those guys, we begin to make a connection, and I begin to like, okay, see where I can contribute. You know what I'm saying? So that's the part that was dynamic for us, at least for me. And then this is when the class of 97, right? I mean, they were part of the big team that kind of helped to get to the 96. And then I saw their leadership and how they led from the front. Again, it goes back to holding people accountable. I don't need coach to hold anybody accountable. If I was something that one of the things that really stuck in my mind when you talk about culture, when you knew it was your time to lead, is that you hold each other accountable, not the coach, right? That is juniors, that's the seniors. You holding each other accountable was a culture that was developed that I saw that kind of really helped me.
Yeah, I mean, and we heard it a lot as cadets, and it's been brought up a few times, but it's one of the things that Army football prepares you for when you become an officer in the United States Army, right?
Sure.
One of the best things I took away from Army football is, you know, basically team accountability, right? I can't rely on anybody outside of my team to hold anybody as accountable or higher accountable. One of the things, and we'll get to this, but one of the things, right, you taught us when you showed up as Major King to the academy as an OR was like, you want to be, you know, as a teammate, you want to be the guy catching your teammate messed up so you can make the correction. It's not cool. It's not cool to be wrong. It's not cool to look sloppy. It's not cool not to have a good uniform or your shoes shine or the smallest of details. That's not cool. All right. And it's up to you to hold that person accountable, because now that I'm here, this is me talking as Major King. Now that I'm here, and if I catch him and I know you knew, now you're in trouble. All right. And that is one of the you know, and I don't know if that's something that's always been kind of a part of when you were at the culture, but I know you did the what is it, the Marine Triple C or the Marine CGS?
Yeah, EWS.
Yeah, and I remember when I went through Triple C with a Marine, one of the things they talked about in their culture is they don't make fun of the guy that's messed up. They make fun of the guy that walks past the guy that's messed up and doesn't make the correction because he's too cool. That making a correction is not the cool thing to do.
Right.
Right. So it's funny. I found those two parallels, and then later finding out that you went to that leadership school.
Yeah.
So definitely something that was preached early and often under Major King as the OR of our football team.
Stressman, man, we had ORs like I had OR like Stressman, right? I mean, again, those guys were phenomenal in how they impacted me and people outside of the program. Because again, and you don't want to let each other down too, right? Again, another part of the culture of, okay, one of the things that carry through is I don't like people in my Kool-Aid, right? And I shared that with y'all. I don't like people in my Kool-Aid. So therefore, I got to make sure our Kool-Aid is good. All right. So let's get past getting a uniform together. Hey, let's get to your class when you have to, or whatever that is, right? Because it takes away from you being able to execute stuff on the doggone field. It takes time, I know that, but we it's something that has to be developed over time for kids. I think for athletes to really get that, to understand it.
Can you talk about what happens when you come back to the academy, and from there, the rest of your time at West Point?
When you talking about as far as when I as a cadet,
yeah.
When I came back, it was awkward. If one word I would say, it was awkward, because you had fought, traveled, all kind of things to get back in, and you finally got back in. It's like the person who's like, I want to be number one, or I want to get to this mountaintop, and you get there and you're like, hey, what do I do next? Right? I had about a good 30 days or so, like, all right, man, well, what do I do now? Well, I'm here. I'm back in. Where do I fit? Right. And so it was an awkward moment, because again, known entity with the football team, but I wasn't quite. Coach put me on the JV. So did I get my feelings hurt? Of course you did. You're like, hey, you know me. It's called humble pie. It's called humility. And I'm like, okay, but that took time. So that's what was a little awkward for me coming back in. But I will tell you, Graham White, Nate Hunterton, all the guys, Tom Getke, we just begin to circle around each other and embrace. They begin to embrace me, and I begin to have a whole new identity with the class of 2000, especially the team is figuring out, okay, a lot of people are trying to figure me out too. They're like, oh man, well, he's come take my spot. Like, no, man, I'm just like, hey, I go hard. That's it. Tony Colson. I mean, we connected together like this, right? And that's where, Johnny Johnson, we all just begin to meld together. And that's when I began to find my spot. Go where you need it. And sometimes they needed a person to be excited. Sometimes they needed a guy who's like, listen, I ain't got time to complain. People want to complain about school and things are hard. I'm like, go see how it is outside, and then come talk to me. They're like, oh, so you couldn't complain around me. That you don't. I'm like, you could not complain around me, because that whole ordeal shaped on how you go forward. And that's one of the things that I think that carried me through when I got through the academy, as I came back, getting back into classes, getting back and again, uniforms, all those little things that people be so concerned about or would mess up. No, that was like, no, my mind was not an issue. I'm like, yeah, my room's going to be straight. Yeah, I will be where I need to be. Those kind of things, those little things that kind of hung up some athletes, not just football players, but a lot of athletes. I wasn't worried about it, especially when working with the coaches. If they need you to do something, like, Roger, what do you need, coach? Because I had it all taken away from me. Had it all taken away. So there was awkwardness that came in, but then it was a connection that came back. And then after that, man, it was just grace. Grateful. I'm just grateful for everything that was going on here. I mean, heck, I was at the academy, I think, about 7 years, man. Should have been a doctor.
So, is how just because what we like to always kind of hear from all these athletes, all these different times, is you have almost was it 2 or 3 years that you were away from the academy?
What do you mean, after I graduated, or
no, with that break between the two academies?
It was just a year.
Just a year. Okay.
Yeah, just a year. When you get this, you get an email, a letter. I still have it to this day. Thank you for your service. You'll be on the IA for another 2 years, and here's your DD 214. I'm like, hey, yeah, I just really got kicked out of the academy. but again, it was just a year, and was able to get back in.
Was there anything was there any? I know you said there was a good connection, but were you kind of looked at still as like the big brother when you came back? Once you got back and you got, you had Coach Coaxum and some guys rally upon you. Did they like, hey, is this how those guys did it before us, or any of that going on?
No, because again, I think the atmosphere had changed a little bit, and I was still really trying to navigate where to best to fit. They knew I was there. I had come back before, which was good. But again, the whole scheme of as far as linebacker core and from free safety, a lot of those things have changed because some of the coaches have changed. Not the head coach, but so not a lot came to me as far as, hey, what do you think we should do? But it was just a matter of hey, Kate, we have somebody here who's experienced, and sometimes they just listen, and sometimes I wouldn't even say anything. I'll just say, just figure out where I can help out, and that's just where it just kind of took my lead from there.
When do you get back on the field, and when do you get a chance to play again and make a difference on the field and in games?
So everybody remembers this game. It was against I'll never forget. I was on the sideline, in the stands, right behind the team, and we were playing against this team. Y'all know the name of this team. It's called Marshall, right? And this player that everyone knows, named Randy Moss, was playing, and he had caught the ball and really just glided over one of our DBs. I will not say his name in public, but he had the number 47 on. He glided over them, made him look silly, and got to the score. The next day, I got moved to the doggone. I got moved up from JV to varsity, and then the coach began to plug me in and plug me in against some of the other teams that we began to play. So I think that's when I was kind of being able to help out, and then moving from coach like, hey, I'm not going to put you back at free safety. We'll keep you at outside linebacker, and then working on different rushes and blitz, because being able to get in quickly was what we wanted to do. So, and that's in fact. Go ahead.
No, we were talking on a previous podcast about like some of the best players ever to play at Michie Stadium in kind of the more recent years, not back in the day where it was the glory days. And man,
sure.
Randy Moss is definitely one of them, right? That performance that he had that day, I mean, that was like, wow. I mean, that's probably still goes down as one of the best performances at Michie Stadium, I would think.
Yeah, it was, unfortunately.
So that year, that's a 98 season. How did things go after that game once you're promoted, back to the varsity squad and you're able to, get back on the field and make a difference?
I think that was a hard year. I think that the 98 season was a very hard year because we had, again, we had lost a lot of guys. And Sachitano, he was kind of one of the leaders out there that I remember seeing just how he played, right? He was, again, one of the guys that was mentored by Ben Kotwika. And I think we were trying to find how and what we do as a defense, right? Just different schemes. And so it was a tough year. And I remember those, we lost the Navy that year, and it was just a lot of people got hurt too, right? Injuries was one of the biggest things that killed us, especially, coach has a scheme and he has his players and has he lined up. And when someone gets hurt, it's kind of sometimes hard to fill in somebody that could really continue to elevate that, right? Along with the whole other scheme. So that was a hard year for us.
Yeah, Army fans I'll be remiss. That was the 97 season, not the 98 season that year, right?
Yeah.
I'd be called out on that. So,
hey, cool, man.
I gotta know that. I gotta be up on that stuff. So what happens then after? Then what happens in the 98 year for you? What happens? moving forward, so to speak.
Moving forward, what happens is that we wanted to change the whole schematic, because schematic meaning coach wanted to get this is when Lyle Weaver came. He was a freshman, now he's a sophomore, and coach changed the whole system to where he'll get Nate Hunterton on the field, me on the field, and Lyle Weaver on the field at the same time. You got Kozak, you have Clarence Holmes. You get all these key players. You start working how you get them on the field at the same time to where you can have tremendous effects. And that's just where, when you're talking about a team clicking and how we study film, oh my God. I mean, you're going to hear me say Nate Hunterton a whole lot, because I picked up a lot of things from him. And then on the offensive side, just how they connected together. It was one of those places where we say, you know what, we're going to make a difference. And we did. Again, all the games that really come to us that comes to mind is when we played against Notre Dame, right? I just remember us getting on that field and everyone was expecting a blowout. No, we were picking up their offenses. We were picking up all their plays and all their things just by understanding, studying the film. And it goes a lot back to just understanding the basics, right? I see what a lot of linebackers sometimes do is that they'll do that like jump step versus reading the play, watching those little things that we were able to pick up over time. I mean, it just all happened when in the springtime, and it just translated to how we communicated, how we studied film, how we actually played, how we connected, how we communicated. And when someone was able to step up, they stepped up, and it was like, hey, you were cheering them on. And we were able to flip-flop so many times, which I loved that. I loved it. It was just it was not about, oh, well, he got all the reps. It's like, no, dude, he needs to be in there. He's the right guy for that. So, and I think it really helped us with being, simple, selfless.
Yeah, it's the point you bring up about when you have injuries, and especially at a place like West Point, it's not as easy as just plugging in the second string guy and him being able to do everything that the first string guy can do. I know it's something that we would love for that to be real. And it's like that almost everywhere. But when you're talking about schemes, and I just remember having Andrew Rodriguez as our whip linebacker.
Yeah.
And when he got hurt, the way we call defense has changed, because we could no longer have that whip that he could line up, on the outside, on the left, on the weak side of the field.
Sure.
And he could be man on the running back who swings to the wide side of the field, and Andrew's able to just make that happen. Somehow he finds a way to get there to where the coach can call that defense to set us up better on the back half, because he doesn't have to worry about that. And I know Chad Littlejohn did a good job replacing him when he got hurt, but it just, when you said that, that's the first player that came to my mind.
Right.
While I played, that I saw the effects of how our defensive scheme and our play calls change when you lose a player at a specific position.
Yeah. So key, man. So key.
So,
yes.
go ahead, Sal. Go ahead.
No, you.
I was just going to talk about kind of that transition from the end of that football season to, right towards the end, you find out what branch you got. Was that similar back then too? November time frame?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was, but it was different in the fact of so I was a December grad. Mm-hmm. So I could weigh my options. And more importantly, you got to understand, right? This is before 9/11.
Yep.
So if you had a low GPA, right? Infantry, you getting it, like hands down. Nothing wrong with that, right? And then a lot of people go doing aviation, a lot of people doing logistics. Everyone's what I call, they were looking at their 5-year plan and to transition out. That's just, we weren't fighting. We weren't doing a lot when you think about it, right? But then, so for me, that was going infantry was like, that was a kind of no-brainer for the most part, just because of, it was really, I think when we went on CTLT, cadet leadership training, that it was different for us. Most of the time, coaches wanted us to go to drill training, right, in the summer. Why? Set schedule, set time, very allowed us to work out, lift, and not put a lot of stress on the actual player. So when they come back to West Point, hey, they can get back on their program. Well, I do remember there was a West Point grad football player. I don't remember his name, but he was a brigade commander. And there was this discussion of, hey, we need to get the athletes a better experience on the Army. And that's when, lo and behold, ironically, the 25th Infantry Division had slots, like 7 slots for football players to actually go into platoon leader positions. And I remember us sitting all in this freaking room. It was all of us. All the ones who had the opportunity. And we had to pick out of a hat 7 names. Oh my God. Man, I won the lottery. Me, Tony Coaxum, and I don't remember who else. I just remember me and Tony Coaxum. We got the 2 slots going to Hawaii. Oh God, that was it. I didn't care where we go. I didn't care if they sent me into whatever unit, whatever, doing whatever. I did not care. I said, I'm going to Hawaii, man. And so it's so funny though. But that right there, I mentioned that, bring it up because that ironically had my physics teacher who left West Point, was now a executive officer at the 25th in 235 Cacti. And he saw that a cadet, King, was coming to the 25th to do CTLT. He yanked me out from going from a field artillery unit and put me in an infantry unit. This is all backstory that I did not know. And he didn't get rid of the PL, but he put the PO, the platoon leader, he put him in a what did he put? He put him in sent him on an investigation, doing a report. While it was just me and a platoon sergeant. Changed my life. I'm like, yep, I'm there with the soldiers all the time. We do hard stuff together. And same thing we did with football, same kind of culture. You can't come in talking crap, right? You can't come in talking you're big and bad and can't hold your water, right? So that was the same way, same mentality. So when they said infantry, man, I was like, done. I don't even want to look at anything else. Like, yep. Plus you get to compete with each other. I mean, that is what it was like for us when we chose our branches. And so, man, I was pumped.
That was I recently came out of command last year.
Yeah.
And I begged for an Army football player to do CTLT at the 101st. If they're anywhere on the division, I was going to try to snag them up. I didn't get an Army football player. I got another guy, and I basically not a lot of units do this now, where they keep the PL there, and then you kind of like do it together with the cadet, which my experience wasn't like that. It was,
sure.
Hey, Lieutenant, you go. I'm going to find something for you to do for 3 weeks because here's the new PL for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I did mine at Fort Stewart, and that's where I ended up being a PL at. But yeah, same kind of deal. And of course my PLs were like, all right, how do we get this cadet? I would like to do, little did I know they just did the EXO. They just worked on the EXO's job, and they realized how much that sucks. So but yeah, no, that's pretty funny that you just begging, just looking in a hat and just like, yes.
They picked that name up, and that was it. And Chuck Treshman too, the OR, he really helped influence us, me as well. He's like, dude, you're a linebacker. You hit things.
Hey, I went through some dark years when I first got to the academy. It was, you can't spell badass without ADA. I know Colonel King remembers that because that's what I was one of the first things I said to him, and he was like, he was like, enough of that. I had, between Colonel,
I love ADA. Don't get me wrong.
No, of course, but as a linebacker and as he knew my personality very well.
Yeah.
So I got great advice from him, Colonel Rogers, Colonel Polka, great mentors of mine at the academy that helped, push me the same way to go infantry. And they were just like, look, just trust us. Like you're the way you kind of lead and same thing that you said that your mentors did for you, sir, is they made sure you got to feel that opportunity or that experience more. And that was kind of all she wrote. Now you are Colonel King in Hawaii again, where it all started. So
yeah. Aloha.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
How did you guys meet, Steve? Maybe you could tell that story about how.
Oh well, I got one of the best stories in the world. How I met Major King back when he showed up at the academy when I was. So I just got done. We had just got Major Green, Gaylord Green was our guy that brought me in, and he's very. He was a much different personality than Major King and Colonel King, but as I tell the story, it's going to be Major King. Mm-hmm. And he comes in, looking sharp, always look sharp. I didn't have a haircut. I gave him one of these. Oh, what's up, man? Welcome to like he's new here, right? Like he ain't been here before. And he goes, "What's up, man?" I just remember his hand just gripping tighter and tighter. He goes, "I'm a major in the Army. All right, I'm not no man. All right, that's sir." And I was like, "Oh, well, this just changed completely." But I will say that setting the tone, definitely set the tone. And I ran back because I was an informal leader at the time. I ran back to the guy. I was like, "Guy, when you meet Major King, okay, just know whatever's messed up, he will spot it. Okay, he will say something about it. And the tides have changed. Okay, but like I said earlier, from that meeting on, I mean, he has continuously, it's been 12 years now, and he's just continued to be a great mentor. Look out, whenever I call him for advice or whatever. I mean, he's been my big brother since then. And we've been able to cross paths in a few different spots at different times, so we can link up. But yeah, that's how I met Major, now Colonel King, at the academy, and it was one of the best things because he became a mentor immediately, and he really I can't preach it enough when the whole thing about not being the cool guy and allowing things to slip, I think was one of the biggest things maturity / leadership traits I took as a young cadet from then Major King. It's like because he'd always be like, look, he said it earlier, I don't want anybody in my Kool-Aid. And when he said, like, if I catch it, I know you knew and you let it mess up, like, I legitimately was like, no, I'm going to catch it all. I will see everything because I do not want Major King catching something that I missed that I know that I could have prevented or saved one of my battle buddies from walking into the lion's den and just getting annihilated from that. So one of the best things I could have learned as a cadet.
I will tell you, I was just coming off my second deployment from Iraq in the middle of, we were getting after. So I still had dust from being in Central.
So he always dovetails that story when I tell it with this. So I knew this was coming.
In Baghdad. So it's like, hey, listen, I can spot some things that people don't see. That I'm like, okay, what's that? Right. And so I see stuff. I'm like, no, dude. I need you ready to go. We ain't cool, bro. Oh, no, we didn't grow up together.
Yeah,
we didn't shoot hoops together. We didn't play football together. We didn't do any of that together. So move out.
Yep.
But that translated to really Coach Ellerson. the ability. That's what he found again. He used me as, I won't say use, but say, hey, to get the insights from the players, to kind of help shape the players and communicate with them about, hey guys, come on, man, get your stuff together.
Yeah.
All right. If I'm finding things like, all right, ain't gonna be pretty for you. Not gonna be pretty. So
and that was almost the perfect storm of a change in leadership and Colonel King coming in at that time. Not to say that the program really needed it, but there was a lack of accountability, kind of five and fly, do your time kind of. Well, at least when I got there as a freshman, that's with like Caleb Campbell, Mike Vitti. Those guys were all seniors, and it wasn't necessarily them, but it was just I don't know what it was around the program at that time, but and the 3-9 consecutive,
touchdowns.
Kind of hard to argue that there wasn't an issue with accountability when not much changed. West Point gets pretty much now I will say we are getting some really good athletes, but we've had athletes throughout the years. And at West Point, accountability and film work, like you said, like enjoying film with your brothers, getting the most out of it, where you can read Notre Dame before, as they line up, you're like, yep, here we go.
Yep.
I don't think you can underestimate the power of the brotherhood, right, Steve? When you met Colonel King, right, you can't really underestimate that. And then the impact that he has on you. You had the leadership skills, right? But that brought out maybe even more in you from learning under him, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about how being a professional, right? And one of the reasons we're professionals is because we can always learn. There's always something we can learn across the board, whether that's tactically, leadership wise. I mean, you can go in a meeting with your peers, your superiors, or your subordinates, and if you want to, you can learn to become better at whatever you're seeking out to be better at. And that's what he brought. He was like, "Yep, you guys went, 5-7, cool. Like, there's 3 games right off the bat I know you guys could have had, right? And just the different relationships and what he was able to do. Like I said, it was like a perfect storm with like how Coach Ellerson was, and the dynamic he brought, where we were at as a program. I don't know. I mean, do we go 7-6 and win a bowl game without Major King there? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying that we couldn't have done it, but I know me personally, I was a better player, leader, because of him. And I've thoroughly enjoyed that he's allowed me to stay around and bother him when I have questions about what I'm going to do. What am I going to do in my life? So
don't worry. But when you talk about brotherhood, Sal, I will tell you what I enjoyed the most is all the people, all the players that recruited that helped recruit while trying to get into the academy. I'm connected with them now in the military. They have my freaking phone number, and I tell them all day, I'm free chicken, man. I'll tell you perspective that you won't necessarily maybe not get from your brigade commander or from your battalion commander, because, again, he's your battalion commander. I just may have to be of the same rank or whatever, and I can give you a different perspective. And Jeff Bacon, he's here right now. Vic, Eugenie brothers, they're here right now, right? And it's like I had them over for the house. You do not get that anywhere else. Any other school, anywhere else. And then when we talk about the brotherhood, it's like hands down, hands down, phenomenal.
I was going to ask you about your connections to, like, Army football players, and even maybe some that recently have graduated, but there it is right there. I mean, with Bacon and the Eugenie brothers, I mean, they're a little removed, but there's still names that people watching this podcast will certainly know. And there's that, not only there's that football connection, there's also that, that the military side of it too, obviously too, right? So
everyone. You know, who did y'all have on? I think not too long ago, Holland.
Bryce Holland.
Yeah. Guess who got his file in and looked at his file and got him into the academy, right? I mean, so that's what is so beautiful. Everyone that's a captain right now, help them get into the academy and seeing them just expand and go, man, phenomenal. Love it, absolutely love it. So we stay connected, and of course we do stay connected on the app there, man. So it's one of those things where it's, man, it just warms my heart, seriously.
Yeah, and it's one thing I started doing, I kind of did with like my group of Army football brothers, but I never thought bigger than that. And then when I was at Campbell and Colonel King was at Campbell, he hits me up and he's like, "Hey, we're gather everybody that was an Army football player at Fort Campbell." I'm like, what are we doing?
we're going in hot.
I was like, where are we going? Are we gonna take someone on? And no, it was just he was like, no. We're connecting, networking. We're gonna do an asthma check on everybody, get eyes on who's representing the brotherhood from across, right? Every branch, every brigade, it was just like, and I think at one point we had like 12 guys. We got lunch together at one of the best spicy hot chicken places ever. JP's Hot Chicken.
Yeah, JP's Hot Chicken, baby. Love me some JP's Hot Chicken.
Yeah. But now, as I've continued, right, the first thing I did when I got to Fort Carson was I just started trying to figure it out. How many of my brothers from all over, right, not just the guys I played with, but from, Dave Pivido's here at Fort Carson. I'm running into Clayton Keller, Bill Prosco, and then the list goes on and on. Nightingale's out here. He's not in the Army anymore, but he's out here. So it's cool. We just did a Founders Day event. So, you got B-Rod out here. It's just it's so cool because when I hit one of them up, and I'm like, hey, you guys want to get together? It's always like, yeah, let's figure out when we can do it. It's never like no response or nah, it's not going to work out. It's always let's figure it out. And it's awesome.
Yeah, this podcast has really become great to even make that even those connections even spread a little wider, right? We had Scott Flanick on, who's a recent grad, a long snapper who, man, pretty soon he's going to be playing a little ball, right, Steve? And we talked about that, and you guys seem to have a good relationship. You've been in touch with a player that's going to be he's a senior in high school right now, right? Giving him advice, and you're a guy who says, hey, you have my number now. If you ever need me, I'm here. And I think that's huge, right, Adisa? That's huge.
It's huge, man, and it just the connections here. Like Elijah Riley, I stay in contact with him. All the seniors right now, which is neat. The seniors right now that are getting ready to graduate, and the juniors. I remember because I was back there as an RTO, and so you staying connected with them and understand and say, "Hey, man, I'm here to help you." It is just a phenomenal, not just attribute, but it's that little bit of oomph that's out there that people don't think about. That we think is so unique. If you want to talk about what makes the program and the brotherhood unique, it is that consistent connection. No matter where you go, no matter what class you're in, when you say Army football, guess what? We're going to have a conversation. There's an expectation, right? There's a clear expectation. And you love it.
It's 2 points is one, it's always you always have leaders that it's a little intimidating when they outrank you. You got their hey, hit me up no matter what, and you're like, yeah, I got it. Like I'm not gonna hit you up or like whatever, right? But like what I've learned from Colonel King, and I do it with my guys still, is you've got to initiate the conversation every once in a while to know that the pressure's not on them to reach out to you.
Right.
As a leader. And that's what, Colonel King shoots me a note, or he gets on Slack, or he sends me a Marco Polo or whatever. And Like I know he genuinely cares and he's looking for an update, right? He wants to know an update, and that's why I feel like I can reach out to him and talk to him when I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adisa, you like you from your playing days to when you were back with Steve, and like you said, when you came back recently, you're spanning so many just there that span of that group and that network of Army football players that you have that you've already made connections with. Yeah. It is incredible.
I love it. I love it. Just love seeing them, man. It's just seeing them and then shaping and then giving them just perspective. If that's one word that was really given to me, from Army football players, from, like Chuck Stressman and the ones that came before me, they give you perspective. And that is invaluable, right? Invaluable wherever we go. I mean, from Carlisle, Pennsylvania to here in Hawaii, I find someone, again, that play, they give you perspective. And that right there, again, just makes it so unique.
One thing I always love is it's like when Army football players are like, oh, man, I can't. Oh, it'd be so awesome if I was your PL, right, sir? And I was like, look, man, I'm going to tell you this right now. You're going to work harder, and I'm going to push you harder. Like, it ain't going to be free chicken. You come work for me. All right? Like, you're going to work if you come work for me because I know what you're capable of.
Right. Because
I know what system produced you. So, as I say, when I used to laugh when we had one Army, man, I forget, it was a while ago, but it was when you took over 132, sir, and they were like, oh, we're gonna hey, you think you can see if he can like by name request me or whatever. I was like, look, man, I'm gonna tell you this right now.
Be careful what you ask for, baby.
You're gonna need to reach out to him and ask that man, if I ask him for you, he's automatically going to be like, no, not interested. You better come correct if he's going to come to me. So,
oh, man. What's crazy about that is so everyone knows Pat Work.
Yep.
Okay. I was his Battalion S3 and his Battalion XO. I knew exactly, just to your point, what I was getting into, right? And then his brother and I are very close, but we're close all together because I knew him from when he was playing, or when I would come up and visit. But when you're talking about holding each other accountable, I did not want to disappoint him. And there's been times where, man, he looked at me, he's like, you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, he dressed me down. And just like football, I'm like, all right, coach. Yes, sir. Moved out. Say, all right, let's get this together. You stepped up your game. You don't sit there and get in the hole like, oh God, I'm so sorry. No, you like, let's get it. And I loved it. I love working for him. And he always said he would be the bull in the china shop, and Adisa would come up picking up the pieces. And usually that was true.
You can go back in our archives. We've had Pat work on the Black Knight Nation podcast. We had an interview with him, and man, I met him at an Army football the golf club outing years back, and he was to get him on and hear his perspective was not just about football, but just about the military and the Army. You want to get an education there. That was something good to listen to, no doubt. So definitely hear where you're coming from. Yeah. Any other stories before we kind of wrap this podcast up? Any other good ones you have on Steve Adisa that you want to pass along here tonight?
Oh my God, man. I was anticipating that just a little bit. I can't, the only story that, I can't tell that one. I'm sorry. I can't. Not this one right there. That one, it was when we were at 101st. Just some things that he did. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it. I can't tell it on this net. I'll tell you over a cold one.
We'll have to make that happen, Steve, at some time. So
yeah, absolutely. This was long overdue. Like I said, he's been a mentor for mine for over 12 years now. And like you guys just heard, his Colonel King's from when Colonel King came to West Point to now that he's in Hawaii. full bird colonel, still rocking the infantry. It's just a testament of, hard work will always prevail. And the best thing, and I will continue to try to do it as much as I can, is no matter what, Colonel King is going to mentor Army football players, and make them better. And everybody he touches, it's not just Army football players, but he's just a great leader. And I am thankful to have him as a mentor, and I look forward to the next time we link up, just to talk about how things have gone.
Definitely looking forward to it, man. Definitely.
So Adisa, thanks for joining us tonight. Guys, if you're watching this, please check out our YouTube channel, Black Knight Nation. You'll find great interviews like this. We said Pat Works interviews there, Bryce Holland recently. Yeah. Man, we got some good, and Steve, we have some good ones coming up too. And check out Black Knight Nation. We have some coverage of Army football spring practice right now with photos. I just wrote a story on Jimmy Charlo. Steve, real quick, I want to run this by you. Jimmy Charlo is a sophomore at Army right now. And you talk about connections, right? 2008 season opener. You guys are playing Temple at Mikey Stadium. Jimmy Charlo is a second grader. He's in the stands watching you guys play. And when he leaves that game, he has a mindset that he wants to go to West Point and he wants to be an Army football player. So that's the connections and the power. I'm like, man, I just thought about this before we came on here, he's watching Steve Anderson play and saying he wants to, in second or third grade, he's saying he wants to go to West Point. He lived right 45 minutes from West Point in Ringwood, New Jersey. But check out that story on our Black Knight Nation website. Awesome. Really good story. Jimmy Charlo is a guy who's a rising player looking to get some playing time at that Apache position. So there's my plug of the website. Adisa, great catching up with you tonight. Steve, this is a really good podcast. Guys, great time tonight. Thanks so much.
Thank you guys. Y'all take care.
Catch you soon, sir.
See you. Bye.